All right, guys, here's the answers to homework number 7, section 5, 6a. Check them out. All right, let's go over them. In this first problem, I need to solve for L. And so I need to get rid of the W to solve for L so the L can be by itself, right? And since the W has been multiplied by the L, I do the opposite to get rid of it. I divide both sides by W. And that would cancel it out, and I would have L equals A over W. In the second one, I need to solve for R. So that means I need to get the R by itself. Well, very much like number 1, the R has been multiplied by something. It's been multiplied by 2 pi. So I do the opposite of multiplying by 2 pi. I divide both sides by 2 pi. That cancels out the 2 and the pi, and my result is R equals C over 2 pi. Number 3, I want to solve for L. There's a couple different ways I could do this. One way would be to first simplify this side and say P equals 2L plus 2W. Then, to get the L by itself, the first thing I'd want to do is get rid of this term, the 2W, by subtracting 2W from both sides. That would give me P minus 2W equals 2L. And then divide everything by 2. And P divided by 2, or 1P divided by 2, is 1/2 P. Minus 2 divided by 2 is just W, and equals L. And we'll leave it at that for the moment. Number 4, I want to solve for Y. So in all of these, when I'm solving for Y, the first thing I want to do is get the X term on the other side. So in this case, I would subtract 5X from both sides, eliminating the X term and giving me 2Y equals 8 minus 5X. And then I can get rid of the negative 2 if I divide everything by negative 2. That gives me Y equals 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 5 divided by negative 2 is going to be a positive, and you could divide 5 by 2 and get 2.5. I prefer to just leave it as a fraction, 5/2 X. In number 5, the first thing I need to do is get the X term over to the other side, so I'm going to subtract X from both sides. That's going to get the 4Y by itself, and it would be 20 minus X. And then I would get rid of the 4 by dividing everything by 4. And that gives me Y equals 20 divided by 4 is 5. And you want to remember with the X that there's a 1 in front of that X. So 1 divided by 4 is just 1/4 X. And you could put 0.25 if you really wanted to. In number 6, to get the Y by itself, I need to get rid of the X term. So I get rid of that by subtracting 2X from both sides. That gets me the negative Y by itself. And that would equal 11 minus the 2X. And then I would get rid of the negative sign by remembering that that negative is like having a negative 1 there. So I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. And that's going to give me 11 divided by negative 1 is negative 11. And negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2. Number 7, to get the Y by itself, I just need to get rid of the X. So I'm going to subtract X from both sides. And 12 minus X is just 12 minus X. In number 8, before I can solve this, well, there's a couple ways you could do it, but I'm going to go with the basic way. I might distribute the 3 and get 3x plus 6y equals 12. And now I would get rid of the 3x by subtracting 3x from both sides. That gets the y term by itself. And over here I would have 12 minus 3x, because those are not like terms. And then I would divide everything by 6. And that's going to give me y equals 12 divided by 6 is 2. 3 divided by 6, I could put a decimal, I could put 0.5x. I prefer to leave it as a fraction. 3 over 6 is 1/2 x. Number 9. All right, so the first thing I want to do is get the y term by itself. To get the y term by itself, I would subtract 2x from both sides. And that would give me 10 minus 7x. Negative 5 and negative 2 makes negative 7. Then I would divide everything by 3 to get the y by itself. And 10 is not divisible by 3, so I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. And 7 is not divisible by 3, so I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. Number 10. So the first thing I'm going to do here is distribute the 2 and get 4x plus 2y equals 5 plus 7x minus 5y. So first I've simplified the problem. Now, since I'm solving for y, I need to get my two y terms. I need to get them on the same side of the equal sign. To do that, I'm going to add 5y to both sides. That will cancel out the y term on the right. And I will have 4x plus 7y equals 5 plus 7x. And then I need to get the y by itself. So first I need to get rid of the x term by subtracting 4x from both sides. That leaves me with 7y equals 5 plus 3x. And finally, I need to get rid of the 7 so that the y can be by itself. So I'm going to divide everything by 7, giving me 5/7 plus 3/7 x. In number 11, I need to get rid of the x term first, so the y term can be by itself. And to do that, I would subtract 4x from both sides. That gives me 24 minus 4x equals negative 6y. And then I want to get rid of the negative 6 by dividing everything by negative 6. And that gives me negative 4. See, negative 4 divided by negative 6 is a positive, and 4 is not divisible by 6, so I'm going to leave it as a fraction, but I'm going to reduce 4/6 to 2/3. And the negative 6's cancel out. I get y equals negative 4 plus 2/3 x. In problem 12, again, I first want to get rid of the x term so the negative 5y can be by itself. I would do that by subtracting 5x from both sides. That's going to give me negative 5y equals 5 minus 5x. Then I want to get rid of the negative 5 by dividing everything by negative 5. And that's going to give me y equals 5 divided by negative 5 is negative 1. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1x. And a better way to write that would just be x. Finally, we have a review problem here. It asks, what's the slope of the line? So I'd come over here and find my two good points, and I'd make a triangle. Let me look at the scale. The scale is it's going by ones. So it'd be up 4 boxes over 1. It is 4 over 1, or just 4. And what does the slope represent? Well, of course, we know that the slope represents the rate. So let's see, what is the rate here? It is degrees Celsius and hours after sunrise. So the slope of 4 means the temperature is rising at a rate, right? Slope is a rate. And what's the rate? 4 degrees per hour. It's always the y per the x. And what is the y-intercept of the line? Well, the y-intercept of the line is right here, also 4. And the y-intercept always represents the beginning amount. So the beginning temperature is 4, or since this is hours after sunrise, that means right at sunrise, the temperature started at 4 degrees. Celsius, I suppose. All right, the last 3 problems, I need to find the slope of a line. I'm going to use the slope formula. In number 14, the slope would be y minus y over x minus x, which in this case would be 11 minus negative 13 over negative 9 minus 3. That would be 24 over negative 12, which is negative 2. In number 15, I want to calculate the slope, so I'm going to use the slope formula, y minus y over x minus x. In this case, I'm going to go at this point first. 11 minus 5 would be the y values. 20 minus 13 would be the x values. That would be 6 over 7. The slope is 6/7. And in number 16, the slope again is going to be y minus y over x minus x. I'll go ahead and use this point first. So that would be 38 minus 43 over 147 minus 42, giving me a negative 5 over 105. And that reduces to negative 1 over 21. Slope is negative 1 over 21. Hope that helps.